RuneScape may finally be ditching pay to win. Stars Reach is getting a big visual upgrade. Classic MMO Monsters and Memories is running a big test for free, and once again, Camelot Unchained swears that we'll be getting early access this year, within the next 2 months, even though they didn't give us a date in the next 8 weeks. This is your MMO news. My name is Redbeard Flynn, and let's get into some of the good things that are happening and exciting things, because we're all a little sad and depressed over how shitty the MMO genre is facing things right now and how everything's getting canceled or killed off. First, let's talk about Stars Reach. It has been undergoing a lot of changes lately, and one of the biggest ones is about to drop, a major update to the game's visuals, specifically the biome upgrades that have been rolling out and will be rolling out with a big patch that improves lighting, adds volumetric fog, truly dark caves, and all coming to create these visuals you're seeing on screen. But perhaps the bigger part of this news that I want to highlight is that this isn't where this visual upgrade is going to end. They're also going to be redoing the hard surfaces of the game and redoing characters and creatures to better match the sort of stylized realism they're going for. At least for me, this is a huge step in the right direction and has me curious what the enemies and player models will look like once they've received a similar touch-up. I'm not expecting anything drastic, but I'm still really curious to see what the game looks like in the next few months. That and adding melee combat because I'm needy and I really need to stab things with my sword are the two major updates that I'm the most excited about.
I hope you have enjoyed this look at some of our updated visuals. We continue to work on them, but we wanted to show you more biomes and a wider range of visuals than you saw in the previous video. So this time you saw forest, you saw deserts, and other kinds of biomes that you didn't in the last one. One of the biggest things that probably popped out was the use of more lighting and volumetric fog. We now have the ability to do this colored volumetric fog across the whole landscape, get these really nice beams of light coming through them, and so on. And it really adds a lot to the overall look. You probably also noticed the reactivity to temperature. Not just the burning that you saw in the first video, but here you got to see freezing water and also freezing some of the landscape. This is a capability the players have in the game, but it also happens with seasons. One of the biggest parts of the work that we had to do was actually making sure that every single piece of flora could react with these new shaders based on temperature changes. This is important because we actually derive our biomes off of the landscape, off of the humidity, off of the ambient temperature, and so on. We don't have single biome zones that are handcrafted. A single planet might have many biomes that you can traverse, and they can change over time and blend smoothly across the landscape. You probably also noticed quite a lot of glowing plants and other uses of emissive textures and light. That's going to matter, especially when you see the next video, because we are working towards much better ambient illumination with ambient occlusion, global illumination, light reflectivity, and much more. And these glowing things are going to matter a lot because there are going to be some very dark caves. But we're saving that for the next time. Hope to see you then.
But I actually covered some of Stars Reach's recent updates, like adding in a tutorial and stuff like that, and how I found, and they had missions now, and now they have vendor kiosks. And basically my opinion was that like it's going in the right direction. Stuff is getting more fun for like a more reason to log in. So it's great to see Stars Reach continue to go in a good direction. Something I don't know if we can say about our next little news item, Camelot Unchained. me if you've heard this one before, but Camelot Unchained has promised you'll be able to play the game in early access in 2025. If you're astute and you have a calendar that has like the little thing that are called months on it, well, that means you have 2 months left for this to happen. But we don't have a date. 8 weeks, maybe 7 weeks by the time you're watching this video, and we still don't have a date. In fact, we got a teaser video with no date that just says 2025. There's not much left of 2025. If you're going to try and tease the game, if you're going to try and get people interested, why not give a date? Edging your fan base for months is a strange choice. At least what's left of the fan base that has been waiting since 2013 across multiple delays, changes, secondary game launches and secondary game closures, refund issues, and more. I'm no stranger to indie MMOs and Kickstarter MMOs like missing dates and having like delays and taking longer than any of us ever want to. After all, I have been following things like Star Citizen, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, and Ash the Creation for long enough to know that those kind of delays and disappointments happen. However, at least there seems to be better communication in most of those and less baggage. There's just something about the way Camelot Unchained has treated this whole thing, going dark for essentially years, creating an entirely different game that failed, and then coming back but seeming like actually nothing happened. It's just weird. There's just a weird like vibe going on with this, but maybe that's just personal. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful, at least hopeful, that maybe this will be a good game in the coming like months or so. So we'll see if we actually get the early access in 2025 and if it's worth playing. I hope it is, because we could use a win in the genre. I'm ready to take any win at this point. In fact, there actually might be one from another MMO, an indie MMO, that is much better at communication than Camelot Unchained, and that MMO is actually running a free test that you can go play right now. If you're watching this video between November 1st and November 10th, you can go play the game right now for free and just enjoy some little classic EverQuest style goodness of monsters and memories. On the first day of this test, they've already almost hit a peak of 2,000 players, and if you're a fan of EverQuest, especially a classic EverQuest like P99 style EverQuest with no hand-holding style to go out and grind mobs and find shit and lose your corpse along the way, you can't really go wrong with trying out Monsters and Memories. It is a deceptively deep game already, even though it's only been in development for a couple years, and mostly being worked on by a kind of a volunteer team, and they're working toward early access in 2026. Monsters and Memories might be a game that might be a little bit too hardcore for myself, but it's one of those games that hits the notes of EverQuest very, very well. Like the early EverQuest, like I would say like 1999 through, I don't know, like 2003-ish EverQuest. So if that's the kind of EverQuest that you want, this kind of non-handholdy version of EverQuest that what originally was before they started adding in more quality of life stuff, I think you'll really enjoy your time in Monsters and Memories. And every time we see an update, every time we see a test, it seems to get just a little bit better, just a little bit more smooth, just a little bit better lighting, and it's just, there's just a lot of improvements going on. They've got 2 starting areas now, so you can really spread out, make friends solo, and die a lot. There's a variety of classes and races to play, and if you're an EverQuest player, you'll be well acquainted with how each of the classes works for the most part. I'll include a link to my first look of the game with Mitch Mannix in the description if you want to know a little bit more. To play the game, you'll just have to set up an account on the website and download the client, then bingo, you're off to the races. Or should I say marathon, because this is a slow burn MMO, so go in with those expectations. You will not be hitting max level. In some other good news, RuneScape might be doing something kinda cool.
The decision to remove Treasure Hunter is now in your hands. We promise to make major changes to secure the long-term future of RuneScape. Today marks the next step in that journey, and one of the most important moments in RuneScape's history. Starting right now, we're opening a 14-day community poll on the future direction of the game. Since the Squeal of Fortune was introduced in 2012 and Treasure Hunter in 2014, our approach to MTX has slowly eroded the integrity of RuneScape. The most egregious elements of our MTX offering are those which enable players to skip core gameplay, missing much of what makes RuneScape special, the vast world of experiences Gielinor has to offer. And while these systems have been a major part of how we funded the game historically, that's come at the cost of something precious, the integrity of our game. This is something we must correct.
RuneScape, that is the more pay-to-win version of the game from Jagex, not old school RuneScape, is potentially nixing some of the worst parts of that pay-to-win. A move that comes after a couple lengthy experiments where they did things like toggled off cosmetics, removed the controversial treasure hunter system, tried out double XP with limited microtransactions, and cosmetic drops in the store. They've now shared the results and they're not altogether unsurprising. 65% were in favor or neutral to removing options to support progression via microtransactions like Treasure Hunter. Turning off cosmetics got the least participation, but preferred a way to at least toggle them off. I think cosmetic toggles might be a really good idea for a lot of MMOs to adopt, honestly. Double XP was greatly appreciated at 80%, and finally the fourth experiment of dumping dozens of cosmetics in kind of like a group into the marketplace was popular with 75% of players. The big end result? They're letting players vote on removing Treasure Hunter entirely. The vote is live right now and will run until November 11th with a small caveat. They need 100,000 votes or more. That's a lot, right? That's a whole lot of votes. Except they've surpassed that number in the first day and a half. As of this writing here, they are at 116,000 votes, with a clear majority in favor of removing Treasure Hunter. Barring anything crazy, it looks like Treasure Hunter will be going the way of New World. If you feel like that joke is too soon because New World just closed, you're not wrong, because it was too f***ing soon. That whole shit sucked. That plus the biggest part of the news of canceling of the Lord of the Rings MMO from Amazon. Well, I covered all that in this video right here, which is decidedly less upbeat than this one. But you can go see why I'm so frustrated with the cancellation of an MMO that has been kind of an enigma. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Red Flynn, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. I may have to go try RuneScape. Yeah, thank you so much.